They thought the silence meant you were finished. They thought quiet meant defeat, that stillness meant surrender, that your calm was a sign of collapse. They believed your disappearance proved their power. They walked away with a smirk, convinced they buried you beneath the noise of their lies. They imagined your silence as a grave, cold, forgotten, covered in dirt they kicked over your name. Oh, but silence is not a grave. It is incubation. It is evolution. It is the storm drawing breath. And you became the kind of quiet that terrifies them, because silence is where killers sharpen their blades. Silence is where legends stitch their wounds. Silence is where monsters wake up hungry. You didn't disappear. You transformed, and they should have known better. They should have known that when a lion stops roaring, it's because it's calculating the distance to its prey. They expected you to cry, to beg, to remain on your knees. They thought you'd scream for help, but you said nothing. They thought you'd cling to them out of fear, but you walked away without a word. They thought silence meant weakness, humiliation, a soul shattered beyond repair. But what they never understood is that silence is strategy, it is control, it is discipline, it is the ultimate weapon of the unfazed. While they performed their victories loudly, you were building your annihilation quietly. They flaunted their triumphs. You planned a resurrection. They laughed, believing the story was over, but you were simply turning the page. They expected you to drown in the darkness they left you in. They imagined you curled up, mourning your losses. They pictured your spirit fractured like broken glass. They celebrated early because they thought silence was the final sound of your defeat. But silence has depths they cannot comprehend. While they gloated above the surface, you sank deeper, growing colder, tougher, sharper. You learned to breathe underwater, to make peace with the pressure, to take the weight that was supposed to crush you and mold it into armor. Expectation, you break. Reality, you become bulletproof. Expectation, you fade. Reality, you rise. Expectation, you quit. Reality, you rebirth. The joke is on them. They tried to bury you, not realizing you were a seed. There is a version of you that only darkness ever meets. The one who wakes at 2 a.m., staring into the void, refusing to surrender. The one who swallows tears and turns them into hunger. The one who learns to feel nothing, yet care about everything. You met that version of yourself, and it changed the game. Silence forced you to confront your demons, to listen to the screams inside your own head, to tear down every lie you ever believed about who you were allowed to be. There were nights the silence burned like fire, hot, consuming, suffocating your chest. There were mornings you rose numb, void of purpose, void of hope. But you rose anyway, every single time. And every rise hardened you. Every scar became scripture. Every breath was rebellion. They never saw you rebuilding yourself in the shadows. They never saw the steel forming beneath your skin. They never heard the quiet vows you made under your breath. I will return. And when I do, you will not recognize me. Silence took you into the underworld of your own psyche, and the underworld is where survivors are recast into warriors. You stood face to face with the ghosts they created, the abandonment, the betrayal, the humiliation, the doubt. You looked them in the eye and swallowed their mockery like poison, poison that eventually became an antidote. Your heart hardened into coal, cold, black, lifeless, until pressure, immense and unrelenting, forced it into diamond, not pretty, deadly. That is the science of your transformation. Invisible, silent, inevitable. Then something changed. They noticed the air tighten, the ground beneath them shift, the wind alters its tone, a silence too loud to ignore. Suddenly, their confidence turned into concern, their footsteps lost rhythm, their eyes grew wide, because the silence they mocked, the silence they celebrated, now stalks them like a predator. They don't sleep as peacefully as before. They check who watches when they speak your name. They feel a presence rising behind them, and they know it's you. They don't admit it out loud, but they whisper, how did they survive? Better question, how could they ever think you wouldn't? You were never the victim. You were a volcano suppressing its eruption, a tidal wave holding its breath. And the longer they silenced you, the more catastrophic your return became. Because you speak no threats, yet your silence promises destruction. You seek no revenge, yet your existence exposes their weakness. You need no audience, yet the world leans in to witness your rise. They cannot decipher you anymore, and that terrifies them. Are you angry? Are you healed? Are you plotting? They don't know, and the unknown is their worst enemy. Your silence became the mirror they fear looking into. It exposes their guilt, their lies, their fragility. They once questioned your worth. Now they question their safety. You are not loud. You are lethal. You reached a point where your silence no longer protected you. It empowered you. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped justifying your pain. You stopped offering pieces of yourself to people who only wanted fragments to crush. You realized you owe no one a sound, no answer, no reaction, no closure. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them fabricate fictions. Your silence starves them. They crave your rage. They want you loud. They want you broken, visible, predictable. But you became untouchable. You turned your emotions into discipline, your heartbreak into strategy, your solitude into dominance. Somewhere along the way, peace replaced approval, purpose replaced validation, self-respect replaced attachment. You no longer chase, you attract, you command. Where once you begged to be heard, now they beg to be noticed by you. What poetic justice. Imagine their shock when the one they dismissed walks back into the world like a god reborn. Eyes colder, hands steadier, heart quieter, soul louder. They study your silence now. They analyze your confidence. They resent your evolution. They feel powerless around you. They once mocked your stillness. Now they imitate it. They once told others you were broken. Now they tell themselves you are dangerous. Your silence became your reputation, your legacy, your threat. They wonder, are we the reason they became this strong? Yes. And that is the part that will haunt them forever. They built their identity on the illusion of being above you. Now they struggle to breathe under the weight of your presence. You don't need revenge. Your existence is the revenge. You don't need confrontation. Your calm is the confrontation. Nothing unsettles people more than someone who used to break, now refusing to bend. They scream louder now, desperate, insecure, trying to regain control of the narrative. The more they shout your name, the deeper you drift into tranquility. You don't show a single emotion, and that silence forces them to face their own. Let them choke on their noise, because while they scream, you build. While they brag, you progress. While they gossip, you conquer. Their hatred was supposed to destroy you. Instead, it refined you. They handed you pain like chains. You melted it into swords. Every wound became wisdom. Every betrayal became fuel. Every loss became a throne. Your silence became a warning, a prophecy, a countdown. Even destiny bowed to the patience of your stillness. And then you moved, not loud, not dramatic, not explosive. You simply stepped forward, and the world stepped back. That is real power, not the roar, but the hush before it, not the lightning, but the stillness that commands the sky to split open, not the chaos, but the hand that signals the storm to strike. You became the storm, and the eye within it, cold, precise, unavoidable. One day, they will look at you with wide eyes and trembling hearts, and finally understand. We made them this strong. They will remember the words they threw like daggers. They will remember how they enjoyed your suffering. They will remember the day they pushed you off the cliff, and you learn to fly. Their nightmares will wear your face, not because you seek to harm them, but because your success exposes their insignificance. You are everything they said you could never be. You are proof they were wrong, proof they lacked vision, proof they underestimated the wrong soul. And guilt is a prison with no silence to escape into. The most devastating revenge isn't rage. It's not fire. It's not screaming. It's not confrontation. It's indifference. It's when you've outgrown them so completely that their existence no longer registers. They want to feel powerful again? Too late. You've become unreachable, untouchable, unbothered. Your silence is no longer survival. It is elegance. You don't hide. You simply shine where their shadows cannot crawl. They thought they left you alone in the dark, but you turned the darkness into your kingdom. They're still talking about you, while you forgot they ever existed. What a beautiful plot twist. You sit on a throne built from every moment they dismissed you, every tear they caused, every laugh they stole, every hope they tried to crush. They don't get to approach this throne. They don't get to speak your name here. They don't get to trespass the kingdom you forged in silence. You are crowned by your scars. You are armored in discipline. You are fueled by everything that tried to break you. The quiet ones always rise the highest because they don't waste breath on those who never listened. They just build, and those who build own the empire. Now understand this. You do not owe them your voice. You do not owe them your story. You do not owe them anything. The people who left you for dead do not get to celebrate your resurrection. They don't deserve front row seats to the success they never believed in. They taught you that love can wound, but silence can kill. Not the body, but the ego. Not the hands, but the pride. Your silence turned them from predators into prey of their own paranoia. You carry no hate, no spite, no regret, because all of it, every cruelty, every loss, forged the masterpiece you are today. You are no longer healing. You are healed and dangerous. So remember this. Every time someone tries to count you out, silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is not the end. It is the calm that predicts a revolution. It is the darkness before a universe is born. It is the breath before the bullet leaves the chamber. It is the space where gods rewrite their fate. They thought your silence was a period, but it was only a comma, a pause, a breath, a setup for the greatest comeback they least expected. Your silence became your deadliest weapon because you learned to master the one sound that can't be interrupted, the sound of you rising. So rise without a warning, rise without a roar, rise without permission, rise until every room you walk into feels the shift in the air, rise until the world learns. Still waters hide the most lethal depths. Quiet people carve the loudest legacies. Silence is where the unbreakable are born. They tried to silence you, but silence is where you became unstoppable, unshaken, unforgiving, unforgettable. And now, they will never know peace as long as you remain quiet, because the most terrifying sound in the world is the silence right before you strike.